Class 9, let's start with the numericals of chapter 3E. Okay? See the first one. A force of attraction between two bodies at a certain separation is 10 Newton. Now, what will be the force of attraction between them if separation is reduced to half? Do you remember this form? F is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between two bodies. Where have we learned this? This was under the law of gravitation. In fact, this is true for any non-contact force, that if you increase the separation distance between them, the force of attraction will decrease, and if you decrease the distance between them, between two bodies, then the force of attraction between them will increase. That is so obvious. If two bodies are near to each other, force of attraction between them is very much high. If they are far away from each other, force of attraction will be very much less then. Now, do you remember this? R is the separation distance between two bodies. F is inversely proportional to R square, right? Now, when you have inverse relation between two quantities, you can write it like F1 by F2 equal to R2 square by R1 square. I don't know whether you have done this in maths or not. Suppose A proportional to B, then you can write A1 by A2 equal to B1 by B2. How can you write that? Because if this means A by B is constant, that is why A by B is some constant. So you can write, from this you can write A1 by B1 equal to A2 by B2. It's the same. What if they are inverse related? Then then we can say F into R square equal to constant. Then F1 R1 square equal to F2 R2 square. Then can I write from here F1 by F2 equal to R2 square by R1 square? Obviously, F1 by F2 equal to R2 square by R1 square. Isn't it? Or you can simply follow from this. F1, suppose when separation was R1. Can I write F1 equal to GM1 M2 by R1 square? Now when separation distance is R2, say it is reduced or whatever, new separation distance, then F2 equal to GM1 M2 by R2 square. Simply divide this to F1 by F2, you will get R2 square by R1 square. So whenever you have inverse relationship, so we can write F into R square equal to constant. Therefore, F1 R1 square equal to F2 R2 square. So F1 by F2 equal to R2 square by R1 square. If suppose you have direct relation, you can write it like this. Okay? Now, what is the purpose of doing this? Because F1 by F2 equal to R2 square by R1 square. What is the purpose of doing this? Because you see, it's given that force of attraction between two bodies at a certain separation, you don't need to know what is a separation. Because it's a ratio. Let's find out what will happen. F1 is 10 Newton. Okay? Now it said that what will be the force of attraction between them if separation is reduced to half. That means now R2 becomes half of R1. The new distance is half of the previous one. So can I write F1 by F2 is equal to, in place of R2 can I write half R1 then whole square? Okay? Because the new distance is half of the previous one divided by R1 square as it is. So can I write in place of F1 10 by F2 equal to, now just open the bracket, R1 square by, it will come in the denominator 4 R1 square, this get cancelled, left with 1 by 4. So F2 is equal to 4 into 10, 40 Newton. Notice one thing. Since F is inversely proportional to the square of the separation, if R is made half, F becomes 4 times. if r is made half. Why? Because it is inversely proportional to the square of the separation distance. That is why r is made half, f becomes 4 times. Then you imagine if r is made twice, f will become 1/4. I want you to find out. Do this as homework. Next comes the second type of numericals from this chapter. You have to calculate the weight of a body of mass 10 kg in kgf and in Newton. Now, we know weight is mass into acceleration due to gravity mg. So, 10 into 9.8. 9.8 meter per second square. We'll get it in 98 Newton. What about in kgf? If you leave it like this, that means 10 kg. You just remember the definition of kgf. 1 kgf is the force of gravity acting on a body of mass 1 kg. So, on a body of mass 10 kg, what will be the force of gravity acting? 10 kgf, and that is the weight by definition. That is the definition of weight. The force of gravity acting on an object of certain mass is its weight. So, what is the weight of a body of mass 5 kg in kgf? 5 kgf. Because you see, kgf definition is 1 kgf force is the force of gravity by which Earth pulls a body of mass 1 kg towards its center. So then what will be the force of gravity on 10 kg? 10 kgf. So weight will be 10 kgf. So basically, if I have to convert, or you can simply imagine, if you have once converted to Newton, from kgf to Newton, we multiply 9.8. If you have to convert from kgf to Newton, that is why we multiply into 9.8. 98 Newton. And from Newton to kgf, then divide by 9.8. Obviously. Similarly, calculate the weight of a body of mass 10 gram in gf, gram force and dyne. Very easy. 10 gram, mass 10 gram, weight in gram force, 10 gram force. Same thing. Okay, what will be in dyne? Into 980, not 9.8, because g in SI is 9.8 meter per second square. In CGS, because dyne means in CGS, right? So in CGS it will be 980 centimeter per second square. The value of g is 980 centimeter per second square. That's why we get 1 GF is equal to, when we have to convert from GF to dyne, we multiply 980, isn't it? So just remember, these are SI, Newton. Since Newton SI, dyne CGS, convert accordingly. Do this as homework. Now see the next one. Weight of a body on earth is 98 Newton, where acceleration due to gravity is given. What will be its mass and weight on moon? Let's find out the mass on the moon. First of all, let's find the mass on earth. Can I find the mass on earth? Obviously, weight of the body on earth is given 98 Newton and g is given. So W equal to mg, so m equal to W by g, 10 kg. Mass is 10 kg. Mass is a constant quantity, we have learned. It remains same everywhere. So on earth, if it's 10 kg, on moon also it will be 10 kg. What about the weight? Weight on the moon where g is given. How will I find the weight on the moon? Simply weight on the moon is mass on the moon, which is 10, into the acceleration due to gravity on the moon. Don't put the value of earth, because g will be different on the surface of earth, moon, like this, okay? So you get 16 Newton. So do this as homework. A man weighs 600 Newton on the earth. What will be his mass on the moon? Now if suppose this g, I am speaking about this g, if it is given to you, then okay, the value of g. If suppose if it's not given to you, you will find somewhere they have taken 9.8, somewhere they have taken 10. Because 9.8 approximately we can take it as 10. But if it is mentioned like there, here it is mentioned as 9.8, then take the value which is given in the question. If in any question this value is not given, the value of small g, then you can take it as 10 meter per second square. Otherwise, take the value which is given to you, provided to you in the question. Now, Let's do some numericals from free fall. Ball is released from a height and it reaches the ground in 3 seconds. Okay? So, say a ball is released from this height and it reaches the ground in 3 seconds. G is given. You have to find the height from which the ball was released and also when the ball touches the ground, with what velocity it touches the ground. Now, when the ball is released from certain height, it was initially at rest. So, initial velocity u is 0. Now see the three equations. Equations of motion for free fall, we have learned this in the video lesson. V equal to u plus gt because the ball is falling down. So plus g. V square equal to u square plus 2gh. H is equal to ut plus half gt square. Now if u is equal to 0, these equations will turn out like this obviously. Now if I have to find the height, which equation shall I use? This one. Okay, because I have to find the height as well as I have to find the velocity. So if I start using this form, we don't know V, so how can I use this form? Let's find H from here, because you know U is 0, H is equal to half gt square, G is given, T is given. Now how will I find velocity? With this one. Why? Because obviously after you have found H, you can find this with this one also, or you can find this one. Okay? Please be careful about the equations which you use when the body is falling plus g. Equations of motion, I hope by now you have learned the three equations of motion. This was V equal to u plus at. Instead of a, it's plus g, because it's falling due to the acceleration due to gravity. Acceleration in this case is acceleration due to gravity. So in place of a, we write g. Okay? Same here. In place of s, we write h, just to denote the height which it has travelled. See the next one. A body is dropped from the top of a tower. It acquires a velocity 20 meters per second on reaching the ground. Now, it said that a body is dropped from here. Say this is the height which it has travelled. And when it reaches the ground, V is given. V is given to us, 20 meters per second. In the previous sum, we have calculated V. In this sum, V is given. You have to find the height of the tower. Remember again, when the ball is released from the top of the tower, initially it was at rest, so U is 0 and V is given. Now, in order to find H, that is the height of the tower, because it is the top of the tower, from here the ball falls. Which equation shall I use? This one. Why not this one? Because T is not given. See, if I use this one, U is 0, fine. So it will become, first of all, when U equal to 0, equations will turn out like this, right? Now see, if I use this, T is not given to us. I cannot use this form. I will use this form because V is given and U is 0. So simply V square equal to 2gh, V is given, G is given, H we have to find. Simply the height of the tower is 20 meters. Now let's do sums which are involving bodies thrown upwards. Let's see this one. A pebble is thrown vertically upwards with a speed of 20 meters per second. So I am throwing a pebble upwards. So what is the velocity which is given? Initial velocity, because I am throwing the stone or pebble with this velocity, isn't it? And time is given 2 seconds. So you have to find how much is the height travelled by the pebble after 2 seconds. To find the height, which one should I use? This one. Why not this one? This also has height in it. Why not this one? Because V is not given to us. Final velocity is not given. U is given. So how can I use this equation? When V is not given, U is given, but I have to know V, otherwise I cannot find H. So in this equation, see, U is given, T is given, and G is also given. So I can use this form. So use accordingly. Now notice the equations. Why have I placed minus? Because the pebble is thrown upwards. When a body is thrown upwards, G will be minus G. Okay. V equal to U minus GT, V square equal to U square minus 2GH, H is equal to UT minus half GT square. The three equations of motions take the form like this. If it is thrown downwards, plus G, upwards, minus G. Okay? I have explained also the reason why we take plus G minus G in the video lesson. Okay? Now see this sum. A ball is thrown vertically upwards with an initial velocity 49 meter per second. That means U is 49 meter per second. You have to find the maximum height that the ball will reach. That means the height the ball will reach before it falls down again due to its gravity. That is, if I throw a ball vertically upwards, or if I throw anything and I release my hand, obviously after some time it will again fall down due to the gravity. So a certain height it will reach, which is the maximum height which it can reach, after which the maximum height is the height which a body will reach when thrown upwards vertically, just after which it will fall down due to gravity. Okay? Now, if I have to calculate the maximum height, what are the things we need to consider? First of all, see the equations. I hope it's clear. It's thrown upwards, so this will be the form of the equations. Okay? Now at maximum height, V equal to 0, we have learned this. Why? Because at the maximum height, the velocity will be 0. Because all the kinetic energy is actually transferred to the potential energy. So the energy which is possessed by the ball will be potential energy. Okay? Now, which equation should I use to find the maximum height? This one or this one? Both has got H in it. Then which one should I use? This one. Why? Because time is not given to us. I cannot use this form. Although I know U, but I don't know T. I know G, but I don't know T. But in this case, see, I know U. V is 0. Right? V is 0. U I know. G I know. So I can find H. So U squared equal to 2GH max. You remember this I have shown in the video lesson. V square equal to U square minus 2GH. H is the H max because at maximum height velocity is 0. So this is 0. That means U square equal to 2GH. Okay? Maximum height. Now, you have to find also the time taken by it before it reaches the ground again. That means the total time of the journey. It goes upward. That means it's thrown upward. Maximum height it reaches, then it falls down again. So, if I find the time taken to reach the maximum height, how will I find? From this equation I can find the time. Obviously from this also I can do, because now I know H. I can use this form also. If I use this form, V is 0, U is given 49, G is given. So I can find T. Also I can find T from here. H I have calculated, U is given, G is given. Right? So the total time will be, if it takes 5 seconds to reach the maximum height, 5 seconds again to fall down through the same height. So 10. So remember that when a body is thrown vertically upwards, when it reaches the maximum height, then only the final velocity is 0. If the question, suppose in this question, a pebble is thrown vertically upwards, and how high will it be after 2 seconds? And suppose it was also asked what will be the final velocity after 2 seconds. Then it's not 0, because it has not been given that this is the maximum height it can travel. Understood my point? If this is the maximum height, then only the final velocity will be 0. Otherwise, suppose the ball is thrown, it can go up to say this height. When it is in this height, it has got certain velocity. So that means this is not the maximum height. If this is the maximum height, at this point the velocity, final velocity will be 0. Now see this one. Ball is thrown vertically upwards. It goes to a height 20 meter and then returns to the ground. Okay. You have to calculate the initial velocity of the ball. Let's do one by one. If I have to find the initial velocity of the ball when the ball was shown upwards, these are the equations of motion. Shown upwards, that's why. So, if I have to find the initial velocity, which one should I use? This one. Why? Why will I use this one? Tell me. Because V is not given. Sorry, V is 0. Because it reaches, see, it goes to a height of 20 meter and then returns to the ground. So that means this 20 meter is the maximum height which the ball can reach. At maximum height, can I write V as 0? Right? So I can use this form because I have to find U and H is given 20, G is given. I cannot use this form because I don't know T. And these are the two only equations from where I can find U. Okay? So these are the two equations from where I can find U, and I cannot use this as T is not given, but I can use this. See, because V is 0 at maximum height H is given 20, U I will have to find simply. So initial velocity I have found out. Now, after reaching the maximum height, the ball will now fall down. While falling down, this is the equations of motion. It falls down, so plus G, isn't it? Now, notice one thing. When I am throwing the ball with initial velocity, I have found 20. At the maximum height, final velocity is 0. When the ball falls down again from that point, isn't the initial velocity of the ball now the final velocity here? Right? Because the ball is now falling from 0 meter per second velocity, and now when it reaches the ground, it will acquire certain velocity. That I will find from this equation. How? Because U equal to 0 now, V square equal to 2GH. I cannot use this form. Again, T is not given. T I have to calculate. So V square equal to U square plus 2GH. So I am calculating V from here. And then you can calculate T from this. When it was shown upwards, you can calculate T. V equal to U minus GT. T you can calculate. And when it was falling down, you will see the same time it's taking, because the same velocity is acquiring when it was shown upwards and when it falls on the ground back. Same velocity, that's why. So total time is 2 plus 2, 4 seconds. Do number 13 and 15. Try number 13 and 15.